Hi everybody, it's 314 Reactor here, and today we're going to be looking at the Quake Remaster that came out a couple of weeks ago. Many other videos have gone over this game and all the details about it, but I thought I would look into the aesthetic value of texture filtering. So the original Quake has really blocky texels, as you can see here. That's because it came out prior to hardware graphic accelerators really being a thing. I mean, it was only till Quake 2 in 97, I believe, where it started to properly support D3D and OpenGL. I think there was a GL version of Quake, but I don't think it was widely available. And there's also another version of Quake called VKQuake, which ran on some other strange, very proprietary, ancient hardware. I think there's a video from Digital Foundry about it. I'll link that in the description. But for the most part, the game looked like this. Very blocky, kind of like a PS1 game, but with perspective correct textures, so no affine texture mapping, warping, or anything weird like that. The remaster adds a whole bunch of extra lighting and anti-aliasing and frame rate things and all sorts of quality of life things, but it also adds in texture smoothing. And I've been playing a bit of the game with it off, and I've been playing a bit of the game with it on. And I've noticed that while it does look technically better with the texture smoothing on, which I believe would be trilinear with mip mapping. I'm not sure, I'm not 100%. I'm going to have to read up on some of my mip mapping and filtering stuff. But basically, yeah, you can see there, it makes those same textures look very, very different. So let's do an instant comparison. Here's with the texture smoothing on, and that's with it off. It's a big difference. As I say, technically, it's better with the filtering on. But, much like PS1 games, does the aesthetic of Quake really rely on this chunky, crunchy feeling in order to look like Quake? Because when you start applying texture filtering via emulation to PS1 games, they start to lose a bit of their PS1 look. So I was just going to play through this level a bit and look at some of the graphics and try and determine, and I guess see what people think on YouTube as well, what best suits Quake's art style. Texture smoothing or no texture smoothing? Crunchy Quake versus smooth Quake. So here's a nice one. You've got this really metallic looking texture here. You've got an in light and out of light here. And there's also some other things going on here as well. Like I say, you've got extra field of view options, you've got ambient occlusion, anti-aliasing, depth of field, motion blur, model interpolation, enhanced models, color light maps, fog dynamic shows. You got so much they've added to this. Because technically it's using a new engine, I believe, Night Dive's own engine. But how it looks is essentially from an art style the same thing. Now you could also argue, you know, does adding anti-aliasing and ambient occlusion and stuff also take away from the art style? That could be something for another video, I'm not sure. But I think the thing that really affects the art style specifically is the texture smoothing. So we've had a look at this wall here. Very crunchy, very quintessentially Quake. I mean, this just makes you think of 1996. So let's turn the texture smoothing on. And there you go. Now it starts to look, like I say, it looks technically better. Does it look artistically better? I don't know. I can't tell because the extra blurriness, the sort of low resolution of the models, there's no detail textures and they're not that high resolution. Does it just make it look worse? Now if you load up the Quake 64 version of this, which I'll show in a bit, that all uses texture filtering as well, which kind of works for the N64 version because again, games on the 64 all had that kind of texture filtered, kind of blurry, sometimes muddy look. And I guess it's kind of part of the N64. Maybe I'm overthinking it, I don't know. But let's turn that texture filtering off again. Let's move forward a bit. See if we can get to an outside area. You'll see the ambient occlusion around there as well. Here we go. So you can see there's some, I think, real-time lighting coming from the muzzle flash there, which again you could argue takes away from the look of Quake. So here's a really good example because you've got the sort of organic floor here, the rusted metal here. I mean, this is very, very 96, and even the sky box there as it's flying past. So let's turn that texture smoothing on again. So the sky looks really nice, but it certainly looks less crunchy. Yeah, the character model here and his weapon looks really nice. Nice and smooth. Kind of the face there. And then you've got the sort of dog animal here. But does it look like Quake? So again, let's turn the texture filtering off. See, now it looks like Quake. And that water in the background looks like Half-Life. I know Half-Life Gold Source was built from Quake World, which was obviously built from Quake. So it's technically always been Quake water, but to me, that'll always be Half-Life water. Just, I mean, even the sound of the shotgun, it's so crunchy. So it even fits in with the soundscape and the Nine Inch Nails music and the atmospheric ambience. Even on a sound perspective, it just suits it. Again, being crunchy and blocky and somewhat imperfect. But at the same time, in some ways, it feels like more detail is kept by having the texture smoothing off. So if we turn the texture smoothing back on, see, it's still there's obviously the same sort of level of detail. It just looks a bit less detailed because it's all kind of blurred together. And again, let's fire that shotgun again. See, even the shotgun, same sound, it somehow feels less crunchy, like it doesn't quite want to be in this texture smoothed world. It's really interesting. Maybe it's just me, maybe no one will agree, but to me, it just changes the feeling of the game. And I never really played Quake when I was young. I think I've only played it a few times growing up, and I've only really started playing it properly this year with the remaster. But I've always read about it, and I know a lot about it and its history and its importance, its legacy in gaming history. And I've seen enough videos on it to know what classic Quake looks like. So let's turn off all of the new tech. So off, resolution low, and listening off, 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 off. See, that's looking more like completely OG Quake. Oh, wow. You see, is this more Quake as well? I guess this could be a purely sort of... Wow, look at that texture. It's almost like the door's not even getting further away, the texture's just getting smaller, which it probably is. Due to the way the pixels are being sampled there. I mean, that's really cool. I guess that could just be a nostalgia thing. Maybe it's just a purely subjective thing. Quake is whatever you sort of feel it is. I mean, there's enough customization here to make it whatever you want. So you can keep all the other options off, but turn the resolution up. So we can have it old school looking, but with a decent resolution. Is there a medium version of that resolution? No, it's just low and high. Okay. That's a hell of a jump. There should be a medium there, because that goes from about 320 by 240 to 4K. That's quite funny. So yeah, if someone was lucky enough to run Quake sort of this clarity back in the day, would this be what Quake is for them? Is this what Quake is? So you got the old school warping effect there. From what I remember of seen of videos, that's pretty accurate to what the original warping effect looked like on the original Quake. I think I prefer it with all the options on, like all the new effects on, because they just really make it look technically very nice. And you can even put all those on with the super low resolution, so you've got like ambient occlusion and depth of field, but a ridiculously low resolution. But I like to have everything on. But I think I like to have it looking crunchy Quake, just because it suits that art style better. That kind of gritty, otherworldly, industrial, but gothic-y, bizarre environment that Quake 1 sort of resides in. Let's exit this level. Let's go to another level and have a quick look around. It's just quickly here on the second level of the first chapter. You can see this handsome fellow here with texture smoothing off. Again, it just looks so Quake. It just looks Quake. Let's turn that texture smoothing on. Does that look Quake anymore? I mean, I guess it looks like Quake 2 more, heading towards Quake 3 sort of art style. But is Quake 2 and 3's art style Quake 1? From what I know, Quake 1 is different from all the other Quakes completely in terms of its setting, its enemies, its story. I guess it'd be good to ask one of the original art designers to see if they actually did design all these textures around the limitation of not having texture filtering at the time, or whether they just sort of did it in spite of the texture filtering, if you see what I mean. It'd be really interesting to get their view on it. Oh, did you see that shadow there? Really nice dynamic shadowing. That's cool. Very cool. Anyway, let's move to a completely different chapter now. So here we are in episode 4 in a place called Hell's Atrium. And I think episode 4 was one of the newer episodes. Not the newest episode, but one of the newer episodes that was added in a few years back. And, oh, it's really actually quite creepy. Listen to that music. And again, oh, like the bones and flesh there. Sort of Doom style, but a bit more grittier and a bit more, I don't know. It's so good. So again, I think this is where, again, GLQuake really fits in with the atmosphere. I mean, the music here and the tone, the ambiance, everything more suits GLQuake. So if we go to SmoothQuake, it almost sanitizes it. You know, it almost makes it less scary and unknown. And that could be a factor that I'm just more used to seeing texture filtered games. But there's something about GLQuake that just makes this much more unnerving. You see what I mean? Is it just me? I don't know. It's more freaky to me. Like, it's just far more freaky. Oh my god. Ugh. There's something about that raw feeling of being very crunchy and imperfect. And I just love the term crunchy. I can't stop saying it. Like this character model here. Let's turn the smoothing back on again. See, there's something about this character that just looks so much more safer with the texture smoothing on, and so much more dangerous with it off. It could just be that era of gaming when I was very, very young, and maybe my memories from that era of this sort of crunchy look. Just being younger, everything was a bit scarier. Oh my god, that's awful. Ah! I have no idea what I'm doing on this chapter. Oh god. So yeah, I think to conclude, I would say that I prefer GLQuake. It makes it look more scarier, helps the ambience. There's just something about it that unnerves me far more than SmoothQuake. Which is ironic because I actually like smooth peanut butter over crunchy peanut butter. But again, that's a whole different thing. So please do discuss that in the comments. While you're scrolling down to leave a comment, let's go to N64Quake. Add-ons, activate Quake 64, go back, single player, new game, Quake 64, easy. And it loads it up with a really nice looking CRT effect. It's got all the actual textures and resolution from the N64 game. I don't think there's a way to turn off this CRT effect. You can actually turn off the texture smoothing. Interesting. So you can even see Quake 64 in crunchy style. I think the thing with the N64 version is that the textures are really low resolution. I'm fairly certain, let me just Google it quickly. Yeah, from what I've seen, Quake 64 and the screenshots does have texture filtering. So it's combined with the fact that these textures are low resolution and possibly remade from the original. I would say these were probably built around the fact that they did have texture filtering, rather than the original Quake textures, which were possibly built around the fact they didn't have texture filtering. Again, I'm not sure on that. So I'm going to leave texture filtering on for 64 Quake because, again, that's kind of the N64's look. So it's really interesting. Maybe it's just the context of Quake, because you can see there's like the different sort of lighting, different sort of water. The music's different. And just like Doom on PS1 and Doom 64 had a very different atmosphere to the PC version. Quake is quite similar in that its different ports have a different sort of atmosphere to them, so maybe that plays into it as well. So I mean, the options here now. The options here, you can play N64 Quake Crunchy or Smooth, you can play the PC Quake Crunchy or Smooth, all the new effects on or off, or you can even just load the original Quake. That's still an option in Steam. So that the option is yours. But that's just my thought on it. I think the original PC Quake should be always Crunchy mode. That just feels more Quake to me. But do let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be interested to see what sort of combinations of graphics people are running, especially now with all the options. I mean, you can even emulate PS1 Quake and apply texture filtering and stuff to that. You can run the old PC version. You can even run it on VKQuake with the old hardware, Open GLQuake, original Quake on a CPU, on a Pentium 1 or a 486 or something. So, just like the original Unreal Tournament, there's just many ways to enjoy the one game. Anyway, that's enough rambling. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please do leave a like and subscribe, and stick around for future tech and gaming videos.